Damn TV's not showing up. I think I know why. No? Wonder why I can't see this.
Not on the Apple TV.
It's my laptop is not discovering this Apple TV. It's finding the one in the bedroom and the one in the living room, but not the one in the den. And I'm not sure why. AirPlay.
Hi, everybody. We're early. It's a good place to be. Hi, Dr. Marvin.
Hello, John.
Hello.
You're
Trying to get
early.
things.
What a deal.
What's that?
You're on early.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out how to project this to my big screen television so I can watch it.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. I got to step out of the room for a minute. I will be right back.
Okay. There we go.
What else have you got?
Hello, Greg.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Great, how are you?
Fantastic.
Love to hear that.
I've been on calls all day this whole week.
Wow, wow.
You've been busy, Tyler. I see you all over the place, man. This is just awesome.
And I think this last event we just went to kind of it's sparked all those desires that we've been feeling for a little while. There were so many great speakers at this last event.
It was amazing. It really was. It got a lot of people fired up, including me.
I agree, Steve. It's been a busy week on the phone, that's for sure.
I'm gonna fill my ice water up real quick. I'll be right back.
That's what I was just doing. Come on.
Thank you, Greg, for
Hello,
putting this on.
Mr. Dika.
Miss West, how are you today?
Absolutely phenomenal.
As usual.
How could you not be
There you go. There you
in
go.
this amazing business?
Change Facebook, Telegram.
All right. I have got to. Let's see.
I'm excited about this call tonight, you guys. We're gonna do something a little different structure here. I'm excited about it.
Or Vitality Living.
Well, thanks. We are too, partner.
Outside of what that first.
We got a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
In the first, anybody in LIfeVantage has access to that.
We are recording this. I will post the recording link once I get it back from the lovely folks at Zoom.
Are there any Nuggets fans on this call tonight?
There's a couple of us.
Yeah, or are we in game 7 yet? I mean, how are we doing on that?
They won Game 7 last night,
Last
and so now they go on to the next round.
You know who they play yet? Is it the winner of Golden State Houston or?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
Timberwolves?
Maybe somebody else does. I've been so busy, I haven't paid attention to it.
Oh, Oklahoma. Okay.
So they're playing the Thunder. That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
number 1 team right now. So yeah, this will be hopefully.
Well,
Got
these
some,
folks
some
have
Golden
had a
State
hot
fans
hand
on
the
here,
last
maybe.
week.
I saw Liz West on here. Are
Yeah,
you
I'm not-
Clippers? Clippers
I'm more,
or?
of I'm more of a Laker girl, but I'm not like, I don't, basketball's not my scene. I like football. I'm a Bills fan.
You live on the wrong side of the country for that.
I know. Well, we're in the process of selling. We're in the process of selling our house. We're moving.
Hopefully not to the East Coast.
Oh, not yet.
Well, all right, guys, it's 1 minute after 7, and I'm excited to have everybody here. This is going to be fun. And out of respect to those of you who are here on time today, I am super excited to get this call started tonight. It has been my pleasure to work with our guest speaker for the last 14 years. After having been in network marketing off and on for about 35 or 40 years, 7 different companies before I came to LIfeVantage, and then now here, I've never worked with a better leader and a better business mind than Tyler Daniels. I have learned more from him than about the business side of being in network marketing than I have learned from anyone, or all the people, I should say, that I quote unquote would have called mentors in my previous 7 companies before I was here. So super stoked to have him on tonight. And the subject tonight is going to be to talk about, I'm going to have to mute everybody here. Hang on a second. The subject tonight is going to be, primarily on the compensation plan and some different things around that. Let me unmute Tyler.
I think I'm unmuted now.
There you are. You unmuted? Okay, great. All right. You're faster than I am, which is no surprise. But that's one of the beauties of being in this company and its culture is we get to work with, amazing people like Tyler. And I can already see on, looking at the names that are on the list right now that of the 50 participants that are on the call now, and there'll probably be a bunch more before we're done, they're not all on my team, which is wonderful because I opened this up to everybody. And I said, anybody who wants to be here, get on. We're going to have some fun. We're going to do things a little differently. And so with that, Tyler, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you've got a really demanding wife. I know her personally. And you have a pile of kids and grandkids that you love to spend time with. And the fact that you're willing to take time out on your Sunday night to come spend time with us is just amazing. And we couldn't be more happy to have you here. So let's get rolling. And I'm going to get rolling right. I'm going to throw you a softball to start with. And by the way, guys, what we're going to do tonight is it's going to be like an interview. It's going to be a kind of a Q&A. I'm going to be throwing questions at him, and he's going to be giving us information. So you might want to write the question down or real quickly. So then you can, write an answer below that in your notes. So anyway, one of the people that's on this call tonight asked a question that, quite honestly, I have not heard in a really long time. And because of that, we needed an answer to a simple question, hopefully, which is, under the new evolved system, can a spouse enroll a spouse?
So under the new evolved system, a spouse can enroll a spouse as a customer, but you can't have more than one center per household. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So no, so the answer would be no. And even in the old system, a spouse could not sponsor a spouse. So even in the old system, you couldn't. The sponsor of one spouse had to be the sponsor of the other spouse. So
Okay.
let me elaborate on this for a second, though, because it's a great question, but I want to talk about where the question comes from. Okay. When we see compensation plans like this, a lot of us get really excited when we start realizing the power of the leverage you can create by inviting other people to be on your team, right? We start to get really excited about, if I can make 10% from somebody that I've invited onto my team, well, if I put my spouse in between us, I get 10% of my spouse, and my spouse gets another 7% or whatever of the person. And you start to think in your mind that you're going to be doubling things up. And that's where that conversation generally comes from. Now, you can just take this as I hate to ask people to trust me, but you can just put this on the list of things in the rare cases that I would ask you to trust me. Building one center is hard enough. Okay. Building one is hard enough. And if you put another one under you, now you have two. I will also say to you that building one center effectively is also lucrative enough. I mean, you can make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Marcel and I are a good example of that. We have our own individual centers. There's two of us that build those, not just one of us building them out. So we have two individual centers, and yes, we've built both of them to the presidential level. Well, what that means, you guys, is that we've built teams that have done anywhere from $12 to $15 million a month in sales, which is well in excess of $120 to $150 million a year in sales, which means that that's generated roughly $2 billion worth of sales in our experience as network marketers. What that means to us in commissions, though, is roughly $30 million in commissions. Now, I grant you that when you do the math on paper, you can show that it might have been more if we had more centers. I can promise you the amount of effort it took to build those two centers out was tremendous, and I would not want to have to put more in. I also can promise you that we live incredibly great lives. Okay. I can also tell you that, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, when you understand whether compensation plans are effective or not, or competitive or not, you know that they pay between 40 and 50% out in commissions. That means that over the $2 billion roughly that we've sold in products, there's been $800 million to $1 billion worth of commissions paid to other people. There are very, very, very few people that have built more than one center. Very few. And that $800 million to $1 billion has been paid to thousands of other people. So I know where the question comes from, but I would just tell you, it's hard enough to build one without having to build two. And it's also lucrative enough to build one. You can go as wide as you want. You can build as many sources as you want. You can generate as many 10% checks as you want. And then we do that for 9 more levels. So the answer to that is you can sponsor your spouse as a customer if you want. You cannot sponsor your spouse as another consultant. Okay?
So with that answer, explain to me how you enrolled Marcel, because aren't you two married?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
He's
all
not
right.
my type. He's not my type. Yeah.
So you've said two things already that are on my question list, and so you've kind of mentioned them, and I would love to run with those. And you mentioned the term leverage. So would you give me your best explanation of how leverage works in our plan and why it is so important?
Yeah, it's one of the first lessons that I was ever taught. So my mentor sat me down when I was getting started on it. And I think most everybody has a basic understanding of how to create income. You get a job, you give them time, they give you money for that time. That's generally speaking, that's how most of us are taught. That's how most of us understand, creating an income for our family. My mentor looked at me though and said, Tyler, can you imagine if you got paid from the efforts of other people? And that's how she started the conversation. I said, well, explain that to me. And she said, well, would you rather have 100% of your own efforts or 1% of 100 other people's efforts? And my initial response, as I'm sure like many of you, is I'd take 100% of my own effort. I can control that. I know how driven I am. I know how disciplined I am. I know how much time I'm willing to give. I'll take 100% of my own effort. And she said, she goes, that's the answer almost everyone gives. She goes, what it tells me though is that you don't understand leverage. You don't understand what it means to get paid from other people's efforts. She said, are you ever going to have to take a day off? And I said, well, I imagine. She goes, well, if you take a day off, are you putting any time in? And I said, no. So what's 100% of zero? And I went, oh, yeah, that's zero. 100% of zero is zero. She goes, does the day ever come when you can have all of your time back? If you ever stop putting time in forever, are you going to, what's 100% of nothing after that? It's zero. She goes, versus if you had 1% of 100 people, do you think all 100 people will take time off on the exact same day? And I was like, probably not. Statistically speaking, you're probably not going to lose them all. But even if 30 of the 100 people did not work that day, you still had 70 other people working that day. That means you're going to have 70% of people working every single day, even if you don't work any of those days. She goes, do you understand what leverage is now? And I said, okay, I got it. I'd way rather, I want to change my answer now. I want to have 70% of everybody else's effort for the rest of my life instead of 100% of my own, because it means I get my time back. It means I no longer have to be responsible for generating an income. So she said, what you've got to do is go out and find those 100 people. You got to go find the people that will help you tell the story. Now, how do you find those people? Well, obviously, without getting into a really drawn out answer here, we're going to ask people to help us introduce products that will help people either reduce or slow down or give you the best fighting chance against a lot of age-related diseases, knowing that if they understand those products, they buy it month after month after month, knowing that if they understand the benefit of these products, they're never going to stop buying them, knowing that if we do that work really well one time, that we get paid multiple times. We just have to find other people to help us tell that story, and that's the 1%. Now, in our comp plan, it's 10. You build this thing up pretty quickly to where you're getting 10% of their effort instead of 1. And you can have as many as you want. So if you had 10% of 100 people's effort, that's 1,000% now instead of 100%, right? And so when you start to grasp that, you start to go, how do I go out and introduce this message of leverage to people, and also without abandoning what real business looks like? How do I put all these little pieces together? And I really believe, Greg, that that's where the failure is. Too many people in our company think that they should only talk about one or the other. They think they should only talk about money, or only talk about our community, or to only talk about leadership, or only talk about the products. They don't realize that the way to get that 1% or that 10% from 100 other people is to tell that entire message together, just like I did. You didn't hear me say superoxide dismutase. You heard me say, if there was a company with a product that would help you either give you a fighting chance or slow down the possibility, or maybe do something to help your body stay healthy longer, would you want to know what that product is? Do you know anybody that will help us tell people about this and you can get paid 10%? It's that extra piece of the conversation that allows you to have that leverage. Does that make sense?
Makes great sense to me. Yes. One of the mistakes I see a lot of people make is they use the term residual instead income versus leverage income. And I'm of the opinion that they're really two different things, and we should never talk about residual income. Can you give me your opinion of that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of language in this industry that people use that overlaps one another. I don't get as caught up in the details as maybe some people do. I use the word leverage a lot. It makes more sense to me. I was actually taught, residual was a very, very common term when I got started in this business. I prefer the word leverage. I prefer leverage because I'm talking about people's efforts and behaviors. And the reason I prefer the word that's around behaviors and people is because I want to be able to add to the conversation. I know that a company like LifeVantage is very, very committed to the activation message. Well, if Pro Tandem if we ever found a product that was more effective, I don't want to be stuck on the residual of say Pro Tandem. I want to be stuck on the leverage of the behavior of talking about activation rather than the residual of something that may become obsolete in the future. Does that make sense? So I worry more about the behaviors of people, not so much the individual residual of a product that comes through. I know those things are going to continue to be added to. They could potentially change, but behaviors shouldn't change. The behavior is always the same.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I've also looked at it this way. Residual income comes from only my effort only. So it's only the people I enroll and it's only the customers I enroll. Whereas leverage means I get to base my income based on not only who I enroll, but who they enroll and they enroll and they enroll and they enroll down the line that I didn't do. So do you want residual or leveraged income? To me, it's pretty clear. Leveraged income is the way to go. Okay, a question that we've got that a couple of people have chipped in on the chat already about is I had a question down here was to break down how new consultants can earn 500 in their first month, and I think we want to add on to that. People want to say want to ask what is the plan to get to 10,000 a month? What is the plan to get that executive level income?
Okay, so let's answer this question in a couple different ways. I think most of us understand that there are an unlimited amount of ways to get to 5. You can sign somebody up on a kit. You could find customers that are buying MB. You could find customers that are buying collagen. You can find customers that are buying a combination of Pro Tandem or collagen or Pro Tandem collagen and MB. You can buy customers that are just doing the act. There's a lot of ways to get there. Know that you're going to get 10% of whatever they order when they sign up. So you want to get to 500 real quick, you're going to need to go out and get $5,000 worth of orders. I mean, that's one way to do it, but it can come in a lot of different ways. I was never taught to focus on what I'm going to get in month 1. I was always taught to focus on the long game. See, I was always taught that if you surround yourself with people that will consistently chase the long game, you can avoid a lot of the emotional ups and downs of not hitting a goal today or tomorrow. We're focused on the long game. So how do you get to, say, the long game? What is the long game? Maybe $10,000 a month is your long game. So let's just say roughly $100,000 a year. You can look at our requirement for the month of volume. So for example, an EC1, an executive consultant 1, is required to have $80,000 a month in group volume. It has to come from at least 2 sources, right? We know these things. So what you look at is the monthly required volume, and that's generally speaking the annual income. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Whatever the monthly required volume, I'm going to use a managing consultant 1, or you'll hear us talk about that as an MC1 now. An MC1 is required to have 10,000 a month in income. So if the requirement is 10,000 a month, generally speaking, it's 10,000 a year in commissions. EC1 is an $80,000 a month requirement. It's about 80 grand a year in commissions. An EC2, an executive consultant 2, is $150,000 a month in sales. It's generally speaking going to be about $150,000 a year in commissions. Now, are there highs and lows? Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a stream. Marcel and I have an EC3 position that's a $300,000 qualified position. It makes way more than 300 grand a year. I mean, it makes closer to $700,000 a year. So there's ways to make way more money if you're wider in your business, or if you've developed more leadership, or your total group volume is far greater in 1 or 2 of the sources. You know, you can make far more than that. But generally speaking, over the entire company, whatever the monthly requirement for your rank is, that's roughly what you'll make annually. Did that make sense to everybody, or should I try to clarify that a little bit more? I mean, if you look at our ranks, you know, an SC1 is 2,000 a month in volume, so you're going to make roughly 2 grand a year. Okay. MC1 is 10,000 a month, so you'll make roughly 10,000 a year. EC1 is 80,000 a month. You should make about 80,000 a year. The presidentials are $1 million a month. They should make roughly $1 million a year in income. Okay, so that's generally, so then you just naturally have to just go and reverse engineer that. If I want 10 grand a month, I'm going to have to be at least an EC1. I've got to have 2 sources. Those 2 sources can be equally split. So what that means is, of the $80,000 in volume, Okay, the $80,000 that you have in volume, 50% of it can come from one source and the other 50% can come from another source. A source is just a group of volume. So it could be one leg that has 40,000 volume in it because 40,000 is 50% of 80,000. It could be a group of customers. It could be a $40,000 group of customers. Okay, is that possible? Yeah, you just be 10 qualified diamond. That's all you. I was on a call just right before this for another team. They've got someone on their team that is 8 times qualified diamond. That's basically what, 32,000 of that $40,000 source I'm talking about. Okay, so a source is simply a bucket of volume. It's and the minimum it can be to be an EC1 is 2 sources, but you can have as many as you want. You know, we encourage people to not meet the minimums. We try to get, you know, far greater than the minimums. You know, you're going to have at least 3 sources to get to the top of the company. So maybe you should try to have 5 sources when you qualify EC1. You know, that might be a good idea. So you just divide 80 by 5, have 4 lines of sponsorship and then a customer bucket, you know, that's got that 5th piece in it. So that'd be what, 15 to 20,000 in each one of those sources. If you did that and qualified as an EC1, you'd be making roughly 80 grand a year in commissions. Okay. Now there's a lot we can go into, and I don't want to confuse anybody on the call, but just generally speaking, if you need 5 grand a month, then go look at or like would be an MC3 position that has a requirement of 40,000 volume. By meeting the MC3 requirements, you're going to have at least 40,000 volume in 2 different sources. And generally speaking, you should be close to that $5,000 a month income. And that's how, you know, when I look at someone with a range of income report, I just say, what would get rid of your second job? Oh, 3 grand a month. This is where we need to be. Here's how we do it. You know, what would get you home permanently? Oh, 10 grand a month. This is what we need to do. And here's how much time it can take. You know, we had 40, which maybe this is a good time. We had 40 people hit EC1 in the last 6 months. Now, a lot of those people have been in the business for a year or two. They didn't just, they probably didn't start fresh in October. It's just that the MB launch was so well received that 40 people hit that EC1 rank. So knowing what we know about EC1 from this call tonight, that means we had 40 people who are making roughly 80 grand a year more than they were making, you know, a year or 2 or 3 years ago. And it's probably changed their lives. You know, so the long game, what's the long game? It's not what we can do in 90 days. It's where do we want to be in a year? Where do we want to be in 2 years? Can we hit that EC1 rank in 2 years? Of course you can. That's been done multiple times in this company. Can you hit diamond in the next, 30 days or 45? Yeah, you can. It's been done hundreds of times. It's basically, when we were hitting lots of diamonds was with the collagen launch, and it was basically 35 people on a collagen subscription. That's all it was. So if you just went out and talked to one a day and got a new one every day, you were there in less than 45 days. Why is that significant? Well, because you're making anywhere from 30 to 40% of that volume. So you're making anywhere from 1,200 to 1,600 a month just from building that customer base. A lot of people that want to talk about the impact of a smaller number like 500 or 1,000, the easiest way is to go out and find a friend who will get some customers while you're getting your customers. That's the easiest way to start the duplication process and have control over how many people you contact every month and have them on a product. That's the easiest way in the beginning, which is why we designed the plan with 4 pillars, right? The first pillar of the plan is something you have 100% control over. Inviting a friend or 2 to help you tell the story, but also gathering some people that will have experiences on the product, which will simply strengthen your ability and your confidence and your belief in what's going on with the company so you can have more conversations to recruit more consultants. Because at the end of the day, what do we all want? How many of you guys want to have to keep working and finding customers for the rest of your life versus going out and having 5 or 6, or can you imagine having 5 Gregs on your team, 5 Stevens on your team? Can you imagine? How many of you guys would love to have 5 Marissas on your team? I saw her on the call here tonight. Would you guys love to have 5 Marissas frontline? Who wouldn't want that? You want 5 Gregs on your team? If I have 5 Gregs frontline to me, do I ever have to work again? No, I don't. And that's the game, right? The ultimate game here is to create so much independence through the conversations we're having that we don't have to be on the 45-year plan that society told us we have to be on. Is there anybody in here that's excited to have to work till you're 67 and hope you can live on Social Security? That's not a good plan in my opinion. So I was sold the idea when I got in this business to create leverage by creating independence, by finding enough Gregs, for example. Okay. And so this whole the call I was on a minute ago, you guys, they asked me, they said, so do you spend all your time on the comp plan or on the health? And I'm like, the health conversation is way too hard for me to have. I don't want to know what superoxide dismutase is. I don't want to know how catalase works. I don't want to know how the KEAP1, KEAP2 receptors work. I don't want to have to sit at a table with someone who's got a biology degree and act like I'm smarter than them. It's way easier for me to just ask questions like, hey, did you start your retirement planning when you were 25 or are you trying to catch up? That's a way easier conversation for me. It's a way easier conversation for me to say, do you want to work 45 years or spend the next 5 or 10 creating some leverage in your life that means your income's no longer dependent on you? That's an easier conversation for me. I've never not had that conversation. In fact, if someone starts with a health conversation, I really quickly turn it into a conversation about, hey, I want to travel the world with you. I found a company that takes the people that help them tell the story about a product that everyone will use for the rest of their life once they know what it is. They travel us around the world. My best friends I've ever had in my life are because of this company. I found a company that can help us do that together. That's my conversations. Some people think that's hard. That's not for me. I know that every single person I talk to has a financial reason to be here. Every single person you talk to, I don't care how much money they have, they want more. I'm just telling you, I don't care if you're talking to the richest people in the world, they want more. And if you don't recognize that, paying attention to what's going on around us, then I don't know what else I can tell you. Everybody wants more money. I just have a way to get it for. I have a way to show them. I have a way to create it through a leverage process. The first question Greg asked me tonight, leverage, right? That's kind
I'll
of
tell you what,
I kind of went off on some trails there. You probably want to
that's okay.
wrap
That's
some of
okay.
those
That's
up.
all
Right?
good stuff. I'll tell you what, you just said something that I've not heard said before, and I don't know is because if I wasn't listening or this is just something, something new that you're talking about, but when you made the statement, and I hope people wrote this down, generally whatever the volume that is needed for a rank in a given month is equal to the approximate income per year. I've never heard that said before, but what an easy way to explain to someone when they say, I need to make 5,000 a month. I need to make 10,000 a month. All we have to do is look across the ranks. We don't even need to look at the earned income statement. We can just turn around and look at the ranks and say, this is where we need to get you to. Let me tell you how I can help you get there. I think that's a brilliant statement that we can use when we talk about, solving people's financial problems.
I'm glad you picked up on that because I've used that for years. When anytime someone says I need $5,000, I just go right to the ranks and say this is where we need to be and here's how we get there.
Well, I'm gonna steal that one, I promise.
It leads to, by the way, I mean, the next question generally is, well, what's the activity that we have to go through to get to say MC1? I mean, how do we get 10,000 in volume, right? Well, there's a lot of ways. The most important thing that you can do is go out and commit yourself to have 10 or 15 conversations with the idea in your head that you're going to put them on a call with somebody, a three-way call for validation, or get them on a Zoom like we're doing tonight. Participate in the activities that are going on around us and just invite people to be a part of that. They'll hear something from maybe your third party or from one of these calls that you didn't have to tell them, right? And most of our friends hear it better from someone they don't know than they do from us. And I know some of us don't like that. I mean, I know some of us are like, well, my friends should listen to me, but they don't. They don't. I mean, they remember being, out with you on your last camping trip, and they they want to hear it from somebody they don't know. It's like brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters, remember, I'm the oldest of 7. They remember me trying to drown them when they were little. I mean, they don't want to hear it from me, right? They want to hear it from somebody else. So the easiest way to get to MC1 is really just through participation. So that just, you keep drilling this backwards. What does participation look like? It looks like starting conversations like this. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've never said the same thing twice. So when people go, what's the script? I don't have a script. I just know in my head that there's a couple things that I know I have to get into the conversation. One of them is there's a company that can help us not experience what our grandparents have experienced with age-related diseases. That's one of the things I'm going to get in. So, hey, I ran into a company that they're claiming from Harvard, American Heart Association, that they've got a product that will help us not have to deal with some of those age-related diseases, or at least give us a fighting chance to not have to go through what our grandparents did. And I'll tell you, I mean, in the thousands of conversations I've had, I've never had someone look at me and go, You know what? I just can't wait for that. I'm just really looking forward to old age. I want to feel older. I just think it's a rite of passage. It's part of life. I can't wait till I wake up and everything hurts. You know, dementia's on my list. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I can't wait till I don't know anybody in the room. No one's ever said that to me, right? No one's ever said, I can't wait till I feel like crap. No one's ever said that. So if I found a company that can help us fight that, I don't have to be the expert. If they say, well, what's the product? Say, I'll have to show you some information. This is what Harvard said. This is what the American Heart Association said. Do you have any heart issues in your family? Yeah, they say you should use this product to try to make your heart healthier, things like that. If you've got any bypass stuff, Ohio State did this big study on bypass surgery, but I just take them to the information. I don't have to know any of this stuff. But here's the cool part is once I start that conversation, I say, guess what? Just like I'm telling you about this, if you decide you want to try to avoid those things later in your life, they're going to pay me because I told you about it. Do you know anybody that you could get paid from? I mean, this is generally how I have conversations, this basic, you guys. Do you know anybody that's not excited to experience what their grandparents experienced? Because the company will pay you too. And that's really all this is. We go have as many of us tell people that there's a way to try to slow that down or give us a fighting chance, or, you know, maybe be a positive impact in our life with our health. Maybe we don't have to feel old till we're 80 instead of 70. Maybe we can be 65 and feel 35. You know, I've met some people that products had a tremendous response in their body that are experiencing some of the worst things that you've ever heard of. There's people on this call tonight. I'm not going to call them out, but there's people on this call tonight that our products have had an unbelievable impact because of some of the health issues they've gone through, right? Do you know anybody? Because they'll pay you to go tell this to people. They'll pay you the same as they pay me. And all of a sudden people go, really? And I go, yeah. I'm being told, and this is what I would say in the beginning, not now. I'm being told that if I do enough of this, I've met some people that this is the only way they make money. They're teaching me how to do this in a way, introduce people to these products, and they don't have jobs anymore. They don't have to worry about whether they're going to get fired. They don't worry about getting raises. In fact, I'm working with some people that are way less educated. I mean, you guys know I graduated high school. I didn't graduate college. I just took an interest. I was a real estate appraiser. I took an interest in the finances of this. That's all I did. I've just spent 20 years not getting a literal PhD in finance, but just studying it. You know what I mean? That's all I've done. I haven't done anything you guys can't do. I'm just a little farm boy from central Utah. And so these are the conversations I have. They'll pay you to tell people about this stuff too. The cool thing is once people know what it is, they buy it every month, whether you talk to them or not, and we just keep getting paid. And I like that idea. I don't want to have to give somebody an hour for $10 anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to give somebody an hour and get paid $10 every month, and go give 100 people an hour and get paid $1,000 and never have to give them an hour again. Just keep getting $1,000 every month. That's what they're telling me we can do here. That's how the conversations happen in real life for all the big leaders that you've seen. They don't go up and have these really elaborate, they don't go have these scientific based. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know the comp plan like I know it today. I only know it today because I've had to learn it to answer questions for my team, right? Some of you are in this game thinking you have to know everything Tyler knows before you can get started. And that's just not the case. The invite is the only thing you have to master if you want to be big in this business. And that is an invite to information, an invite to a three-way phone call, an invite to a Zoom, an invite to a call like this. It's an invite to a company event. I mean, how many of you guys were at the corporate event this last weekend and came home fired up and had your energy? I mean, it was different. Like these guys are committed now to the build out of leadership development, committed to this is how this will change your life financially. They feel like they've got the foundation for activation in our products locked down. They feel like they've got it just ready to go. And now what we've got to do is spend the same amount of time and resources developing leadership, developing independent leadership, because the story is phenomenal on the products. Did you guys get that same emotion when we were sitting there? That's how I felt. Every speaker on stage was like, I'm like the one girl. I moved my family to Mexico and we had all this success. Now we're moving to she's using this business to go let her family live around the world. I mean, that's what this thing's doing. I mean, can you imagine the experiences her children are going to have by living around this entire world? The understanding they're going to have of the way the world works. What a phenomenal way to raise your family, right? That's what this business can do for people. Way bigger stories than just focusing only on how do I help someone's health. You're limited in that. You know, before the next question, I'll take that a step further. I get accused all the time of not caring about people's health. People always say, well, Tyler, all you do is ever talk about money. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know. And they're like, but do you just not care about people? I mean, don't you want all the people that need this product to to hear about it? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And they're like, well, then why don't you talk about the product as much? I'm like, because I'm one person. I'm one person. If I can find 10 people like me, you don't think we can talk to more people about the product than I can do by myself? See, I just understand that I need to invite people, and I don't care the reason they're here. I know that no matter what the reason that they come here, no matter what it is, they're going to go tell people, and the byproduct of enough people hearing about this, it's going to end up in the lap of the people who need the product. I just know that. I can't find them by myself. I need an army of me. And so, I mean, if you really think about it like that, who cares more about people, me or them? You know, I'd argue that I do. I'm creating more exposure, right?
Well, your conversation here has led me into the next question because you've pretty well covered it, but I think you can probably make it a little more succinct for us. And that is, what is the simplest and shortest way to share the LifeVantage story and the comp plan when we're talking to somebody? Because I think all of us get stuck in that zone where we've got 5 minutes of somebody's time to explain to them what we're doing. If you only have 5 minutes of somebody's time, what are you going to talk to them about?
Okay, so I want to categorize this answer really quick. So number one, if it's a first conversation with somebody, like if I'm standing in a grocery store line, I'm probably going to try to narrow it down to even 2 minutes. And it's basically like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. And they're going to, the conversation will lead to, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? That kind of a thing, right? And as soon as that door is opened up, I'm going to say, I've been doing appraisals for a while, but I'm kind of tired of having to do an appraisal to get paid and then do another one and do another one and do another one. I'm kind of looking, I ran into something that can help me actually generate an income that's not based on me putting time in every day. I ran into this company that's got this crazy, ridiculous health product, and everyone's so excited about it because it's kind of this conversation that no one's had. It's helping people literally help try to avoid some of the age-related diseases that are out there. I need to schedule some time with you. Can we sit down? I got to show you what this is. You probably know somebody in your family, even if you don't want to make it directly about them, right? You probably know somebody in your family that could use this. I know my parents could. What are you guys doing? When can we talk? That's the first conversation, something kind of like that. Okay. The second one, though, is if I have a little bit of time and I'm brand new. Let's say that I've invited myself to their house. I'm going over there, but I don't know a lot, and I don't have access to a Greg or a Tyler or whoever. But I've got to go try to give this the introductory part of this information. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to say, listen, remember that product I told you about? They're paying me basically 10% of everything you buy. They'll do the same thing for you. So here's what the product is, and you show them kind of what it is. You can show them the ABC Primetime if you want to, so that you don't have to be the one explaining it. You can say, it's been out for a minute, but they're paying us because they didn't want to have to do advertising. They're paying us to tell people about it. I get 10%, you get 10%. You can invite other people and get 10% of them too. You can do all that. I was just at an event. I met a whole bunch of people that are literally coming home from their jobs because of this product. What can I tell you more about? And you just ask them, what do you want to know? In the beginning, until you can rattle on for an hour or two like I can, you need to let them tell you what they want more of. If they want more of the product, then you're going to show them more of the product. If they want more of the compensation plan, you're going to show them that. But you're only going to show them basics. You're never going to get into the details. But what is the purpose of that? Invite. You invited yourself to their house. You're now going to invite them to get on a call with somebody that's a friend of yours on this call. You guys all know you can use each other, right? You don't have to use me or Greg or Steven, or you don't have to use us, right? The call I did earlier was for a whole different team. It was Bobby Wagner. I'll just tell you guys. I was just on the call before this. It was Bobby Wagner. He had 70 people on that call. He invited me on his call, and he's not on my team. You don't even have to be on my team. You just have to respect the person you're doing the call for enough to not interfere with what they're doing, right? Okay, so you invite them to the information and then invite them to a third-party call. That third level, that third-party call is going to lead to an invite to a call like this. It's going to be more detailed. So now you're going to get them on, say, a call with me. And what's going to happen? I'm going to say, hey, who are you? How you doing? I've had a little bit of success with this thing. What do you know? What's your background? I'm going to start by asking a lot of questions so I know kind of how to have the conversation with them. What's your background? What do you know? Did they show you the ABC Primetime Special? Have you guys kind of gone over the comp plan just a little teeny bit? And they're going to tell me wherever they're at. And I'm just going to say, what would you like to know a little bit more about? And if they say, I'd like to know more about the products, I'm gonna say, all right, well, this thing was developed a little while ago. They started to understand what activation is. They started to understand that your body works really, really well when you're young, and that there's systems in your body that's kind of shut down. They developed a product that will turn all those systems back on so that we can really fight against a lot of the age-related diseases. It's dealing with antioxidants. It's dealing with, things that help the mitochondria create energy. There's 400 different genes that they upregulate in your body to help you start fighting those things off. So if you're looking at your aunts and uncles and cousins or mom and dad, and they have problems that you want to at least have a fighting chance with, you need to use this product. How do I know it? And this is where the person that's doing the three-way call for you is going to know more information. It's because the American Heart Association said so. It's because the National Institutes of Aging, who did a 10-year, $10 million study, said so. It's because Ohio State and 30 other different universities said so. Does that make sense? That's what the three-way phone call looks like. Now, the cool thing is that we build these teams of people that help us do it in an environment where there's a lot of uncertainty, where maybe somebody who lost their job, or somebody who's trying to find a second job. This is a way for people to be able to do something from home. It's kind of a part of what's the gig economy, a lot of people call it. I mean, would you rather go to work or be able to stay home and generate an income? The beauty of it, though, is that if you do enough of this, you can start creating this passive income. And you might go into a little bit more information. But the person doing the three-way phone call should be wise enough to say, the best way for me to take you a little bit deeper into the conversation is to invite you to a Zoom call that we're doing on Thursday night. They're about 45 minutes long. You're going to get a lot more understanding of what this is. They go into a lot more detail on the compensation plan. Can you join us on Thursday night? Or can I come over to your house and have an in-person meeting or whatever? You just invite them to the next step. You will get really quickly, though, to the point where you can do most of the steps. The only one that I would advise you to really not give up on, though, is that third-party validation. It's the one thing that is probably the most powerful tool that you have, is to get them on the phone with somebody they don't know that's having success. Somebody that might have a similar background. If it's a chiropractor, try to get them on the phone with a chiropractor. A school teacher, police officer. Try to put them on the phone with someone with a similar background, and you'll have way more success. Okay. So there's a lot of ways to answer these questions. One of the things that frustrate people when you ask me, what does a 5-minute presentation look like, is I've never had the same one twice. I just know that I have two things I'm going to try to get in there. The company has a product that's changing people's futures, that gives you a fighting chance. And the second one is they'll pay me if you decide it's something you want to take, and they'll pay you if you know anybody. Those are my two things. I'm always going to have a health and a finance angle in my conversation. And you can do it however you're comfortable. Does that make sense a little bit? Okay.
I like it. That's a very simple two things to cover. You've mentioned the term tools a few times. If I'm sitting there talking to a person in a first or second contact, what would you say are the best tools to share the comp plan with, or possibly the tools to stay away from that early on?
So I've used an ABC Primetime tool, and then I've gone out and literally studied. I believe that if you can write down the basics, it's basically telling someone that you understand. I prefer to be able to say, this is what happens when I find a customer. I get 10%, which is basically the difference between what I pay and a subscription person will pay, or I get 20%, which is the difference of what I pay versus a retail customer. I get 100% of that difference. So if you decide this is a product you want and you pay retail price, the difference between that and what I would pay, I get to keep. It's basically 20%. Okay. You need to know that. That's not something you should need a tool for, right? I should not need a tool. I should also know the 4 ranks for that initial pillar, that initial gathering pillar. 500, I get 5%. When I get to 1,000, I get an additional 5% or 10% total. When I get to 20,000, I get another 5% or 15% total. And at 4,000, I get another 20%, right? So I get 20% total. This is where, when I'm brand new, if this is all I knew, in fact, I told people on the call that I just did, if you only knew that part, you can build an entire business around it. Like, you don't really have to know much more than, this is what I get for gathering customers, and you'll get the same thing. If this is what they pay me, this is what they'll pay you, right? You don't really need to know much more than that if you're brand new. And it's not hard to memorize that and just write it down, because they're going to hear these things as they participate in more calls. The only other step that I would try to get people to do is know that if you decide to go out and get that 20, 30, 40%, Because I found you, I get 10%. That's it. It's that simple to write it down. I just get 10% of whatever you guys do, you and your customers. But here's what's cool. You find somebody, you get 10% of all theirs. So you get 30 or 40% from your customers, and you get 10% of anybody that helps us tell the story that you found. Can you guys all say that? I mean, is that hard? That's easy, right? And guess what? You can have as many of those 10% as you want. Like you can have 10 of me or 20 of me or 100 of me. You just have to be willing to, or have the courage to, go out and have those conversations to find me. Okay, I'm out there everywhere, just so you guys know. But I will tell you, if you come to me with products, you'll miss me. If you come to me with a way to not have to give my time to generate income anymore, you're going to get me. That's how you get people like me. You attract people like me by understanding that I'm looking for a way to not work. And you have that solution. Okay. So you can make 30 or 40% from your customers. I get 10% of whatever you and all your customers buy. And if you go out and find somebody, they get 30 or 40% and you get the 10%. Now, once they learn all that stuff, all the other things that we can teach can come from year 2. Look at this like a 4-year education. That's year 1. Year 2 is going to be the fact that we have 9 levels in the level bonus. We have 7 more generational, bonuses for leadership. And then we have the pool bonus where you get paid from what I've done, which, by the way, I've told you guys some numbers. Anybody on here want to get paid from what my group does? It's already built. It's already done. You just got to go out and earn the right to get it. You guys want to get paid from what I've already done over a 20-year? You guys can shortcut the 20 years because I've already done it. You can shortcut those 20 years. You don't have to put them in. You just got to go qualify to get your piece of it. That's it. Pretty good idea, right? That's another thing you can say to who can't say that? I met these guys that are doing $15 million a month and we can get paid from what it took 20 years to build if we just go qualify. You can say get 30 or 40% from customers and 10% from anybody you invite. Oh, and then we get paid from what the whole company does if we get to a high enough rank. And if they go, well, how does that work? Say, oh, we'll get into that later. We'll figure that out later. Do you think you know anybody that wants to take a product to give themselves a fighting chance that you can get paid 30 or 40% from? Do you know anybody that will help us tell the story and you can make 10% of everything they do? Do you know 10 people you can make 10% from? That's the conversations that I have, you guys. I think some of you guys hear me teach it and I teach all the details and you're like, this guy must be up in front of the room for an hour and a half teaching details. I don't. I do it like we're talking right now. This is the whole conversation I have. I very rarely get into a really high level conversation. I prefer leading them to the information, not giving it. You want to know why? You guys want to know why I have simple conversations? Because I can have 100 of them versus 5 of the hard ones. I can have 100 easy conversations. I don't have to know very much. I can have 100 easy conversations, and if any of them bite, I can take them to the information. The hard stuff can come if you're interested at all. Have 100 conversations. In the beginning, when I was enrolling people, you guys, one of my main goals was to find out if you were really objectionable to MLM. Like I started with it. I went right straight out of the gates and said, I'm doing an MLM company. What's that? What's that? It's one of those things where you go ask people to help you tell a story, you get paid from what they do. Really? And then every time they would say, like what? Like a pyramid scheme? I say, well, people call it that. It's not, but that's what I mean. But kind of like that. And they go, and you get the same response, something like that. And I go, look, all I've decided is I don't want to have to do appraisals for the rest of my life. Do you want to lay tile for the rest of your life? Do you want to build houses for the rest of your life? Do you want to be a cop for the rest? Do you really want to leave your family and go to work? Because I don't. And then it goes right into, there's a company that has a product that they're paying us because it's so advanced that no one knows what it is. So they're paying us to go get people introduced to it. They pay us for it. And they pay me to ask you to help them find other people too. They just pay us. They keep paying us. I met people that don't even have jobs anymore. They're younger than me. I hate the fact that they retired and they're younger than me. I would say stuff like that. I'm jealous of the people that are 30 that don't have to work till they're 65. Right? Wouldn't you guys, if you could turn the clock back to when you were 30 and have this opportunity, wouldn't you just go all in on it and then spend the rest of your life doing whatever you want? Okay. I'm giving you guys, I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you. The point that I'm trying to make is that I've never had the same conversation twice, but there is a structure to the conversation, right? I'm constantly taking whatever they say to me and trying to bring it back to, if there was a way to get paid from a product that helps people have a fighting chance for, some of the age-related diseases we get, and they'll pay you to tell people, would you want to help? Would you want to help us tell people? They'll pay you to do it. And if the person you're talking to buys it every month, they just keep paying you. Who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to, if there's real estate people, can you imagine selling a house to somebody? Like if you're a real estate agent, can you imagine selling a house and every payment the person makes, you get a piece? Can you imagine if the bank paid you $1 off of every payment they make? Wouldn't you go out and try to sell as many houses as you could and just keep stacking dollars up? I mean, that's what we do. That's what we, can you imagine selling someone a car? Let's say you're a car salesman, and every time they put gas in the car, no matter where they do it, they have to pay you for that. You sold the car that needs the gas, so the gas station has to pay you every time they fill up. Can you imagine? That's what we do. That's what we do. We sell you the product that helps you live better, and every time they buy it, we get paid. That's what we do. Can you imagine? It's crazy to see how my brain works. Some of you guys are like, this guy's nuts. But that's how it works. It's literally that simple, right? It's that simple. Every time you put gas in the car that I sold you, they have to pay me.
Tyler, if you're nuts, I want to go crazy. So I'm okay with that. A common question I get off and on from people is they understand clearly how they get paid on their own customers, but they don't understand how they get paid on the customers of people in their downline. Can you give us a quick run through on making sure people understand they do get paid on those and how?
Yep. So if I went to Greg, let's just say, or let's say Greg found me. Let's reverse this. So Greg finds me. And he goes, hey, Tyler, there's a company that's got a product that's really helping people. Some families are really prone to certain age-related diseases, and these guys are at least giving them a fighting chance on that. A lot of people are interested in this thing. You might have somebody in your family interested in that. Do you want to start taking it? I mean, you're 53 years old. Do you want to, you've got, probably 20 years or so before you might be susceptible to that. Is it maybe something you'd be interested in looking at? I'm like, yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, well, look, if you're interested in this, do you know anybody that might want to use the product themselves? And I go, maybe. I'll talk to my parents. My parents are 75 years old. Let me see if they would want to do it, right? If my parents decide to take the product as a customer, their purchasing volume gets added to my purchasing volume. So if I spend 100 and they spend 100, that's $200. Well, Greg, as my sponsor, would get 10% of all of that volume. So they're going to combine my volume and all of my customer volume. And then Greg would get 10% of that total. It's that simple. I can have 1,000 in customer volume, 10,000 in customer volume, 100,000. I can have any level of customer volume. And as long as they're customers, Greg will get 10% of my personal volume and all of my customer volume. It works the same for all of you. If you found me, you would get 10% of my volume and all of my customer volume. Okay? Now, let's take it one step further, because there's no other way to explain that than that. If I find people who are customers, and the key word is customer versus consultant, okay? Anybody that's just a customer, that's not helping me tell the story, that's just buying the product for the health benefits, you would make that 10%. But if any of those customers come back to me and they say, Tyler, I'm having such a great experience from this, and I've got a bunch of friends that I really kind of want them to have an opportunity to, get healthy with me. Maybe I want them to live longer. We play games on Friday night and I don't want that to end. Whatever the reason is, they want to go tell their friends. I would say to that person, well, do you want to get paid or do you want me to get paid? And if they go, no, I'd like to get paid for that. If I'm going to tell my friends I want to get paid, they would then leave that pool or that grouping of customers and become a consultant. So when I said there's a difference between customers and consultants, this is the difference. They then become a consultant, okay? Now, Greg would still make 10% of me and all my customers, but that one customer that became a consultant, Greg would now get the next level down's commission, which is 7% of that person's personal volume and all of their customers. So would you rather have 10% of one order or 7% of, say, 15 orders? I'd rather have 7% of 15 orders. So it's very, very lucrative when a customer becomes a consultant for everybody above them. And it doesn't just pay me and then pay Greg. It pays 9 more people. Okay, it pays 9 of us. So that one order pays 9 different people. So when that person gets customers and one of them becomes a consultant, it just goes down another level and all of their customers pay everybody. Okay. So you get paid 10% if it's your own personal on their volume and their customers. If any of those customers become a consultant, or if I just have somebody who becomes a consultant, Greg would get paid 10% of me, 7% of all that next level and all their customers. Customers are considered sidelines. So if this is me, okay, how do I get my hands in this camera? Okay, so if this is me here, customers are in a bucket on the same level. This is all level one. So Greg's up here. Me and all my customers are level one. Does that make sense? Is that a little bit clearer for everybody? Okay. And so what you want to do is you want to have a very balanced approach, finding people who want to benefit from our products, finding people that will help us tell the story about our products, customers, consultants. Okay. And if everybody does that, every single level of yours ends up having hundreds or even thousands of people between the consultants and the customers on that level. They can all migrate from customers to consultants, which is what you want. You actually want the experience to be so great that they want to go tell other people about it, because now you take one person's purchasing, and you turn it into whatever, whatever they expose, whatever their customer group becomes. You turn it from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 20, whatever it is. And I would always take 20 orders. I'd take 20 $10 orders over one, $100 order, right? It's $200 versus 100. I'd always take the volume. So yeah, I hope I didn't confuse anybody with that. But understand the power of when I say there's two pieces to my conversations, which is one is, do you want to benefit from the health? And the other one is, do you want to get paid to tell others? Those two lines create a really nice balance of customers versus consultants. And that's what you want on your team.
Excellent. Okay, we're about to run out of time. I'm sure you probably got another call right behind this one today, knowing you and your schedule. Last question for you tonight. What do you see the average consultant, what is the biggest mistake we make in sharing the LIfeVantage story and or the comp plan? What's the biggest mistake we make?
Yeah, what a great question. Everyone does it. Everyone thinks they have to know more than they do. The biggest mistake is to think you have to know all the answers before you can talk to someone. That is by far, I still don't know all the answers. It is by far the biggest mistake people can make. If I had a magic wand and I could just tap everybody on the shoulder and make you do one thing, I would make you go talk to 10 people, and all you know is you're excited about something that's helping people avoid some of the age-related diseases or give them a fighting chance, and I can introduce you to somebody to talk about how we get paid. And if that's all you knew and you were willing to go have 10, 20, 30 conversations to start that experience of getting someone on a third-party call, you will crush this. I will tell you right now, you don't have to know anywhere near what Greg knows, because Greg knows. You don't have to know anywhere near what I know or what Marissa knows or what Steven knows. You don't have to know anywhere near what we know. If you want to make a ton of money in this business, become an expert at inviting people to the next conversation. If you did nothing but that, you would crush it. In fact, if you did nothing but that, you'll find yourself on stage going, guys, I don't know anything about superoxide dismutase. I just know how to invite people to information. I know how to invite people to a three-way call. I know how to invite people to a Zoom. I know how to invite people to hear the information from somebody else. I just know how to invite people here, and everyone gets excited. If I could tap everyone's shoulder to only do that part, the fact of the matter is, by the time you get through this process, you're going to know everything we know. You don't get to where we're at because you woke up one day and knew all this. You only get here because you've answered a million questions, because you've made a million mistakes. So please don't wait till you know what we know. Invite people to these calls. Greg does one every Sunday. I mean, geez, you better take advantage of it. They're not going to do it forever. You better take advantage of it. These things go away. Eventually, it becomes your responsibility to fill his shoes. I promise you this. Greg wishes we didn't even have to say his name again. I wish you never had to say my name again. I wish it was all about you. I wish Greg and I could sit up in the rafters of a coliseum somewhere or an arena somewhere and just look at and it's all about you. That when the day comes that when someone else just takes this baton from Greg and I, and you're running your own team and having these calls, and all we are is maybe a guest once in a while, that is the dream in this business. That's what I was sold. And I live that dream now, you guys. I mean, I get really busy after these events, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I spend all my time chasing grandkids. My grandson, some of you guys saw him on stage. He's been picked to be at the Supercross finals this next Saturday in Salt Lake City, Utah, on his little state. He's 3 years old. He's going down in the arena on the track to race his Stasic against other electric bike kids that are 3 years old. That's what I do. That's what I do. I just chase this kid around. That's what I do. And that day will come for you. Other than being a guest, which is really all I do nowadays, I'm free, and I want that for you. I want every one of you guys to have that. And it starts with having the courage to not think you have to know everything. You don't. If you don't know an answer, just say, I don't know, but I know Greg. I can get you on the call with him on Monday morning. I'll get all your answers. I'll get them all your questions will be answered. I'll get them all for you. All I know is I'm excited. I know there's a bunch of people. I met some people that are changing the entire situation. If you're sick and tired of wondering what's going on, if you have any fear about the future, you have an opportunity to take control of your financial life right now. I will tell you right now, all this stuff, I don't care who's in charge of the economy and all that crap. I'll tell you something that's never changed in 20 years, the conversation about housing being too much and interest rates being too much and grocery store prices being too much and gas prices being too much. And the uncertainty doesn't care who's up there, if we're being honest. And I'll tell you something else. If you're on the side that everything's going to be great, fine. If you're on the side that everything's going to be bad, our industry flourishes when things are tough. When there's not as many opportunities, our industry flourishes. We become the opportunity. We become the solution. There's almost a part of it as bad as this will sound, is you should hope everything's really bad because our industry just blows up when it is. I'm not suggesting that we should, pray for that or anything, but I'm just telling you, there's a lot of people out there that are looking for a solution financially. There's a lot of people, you guys, I've been around, I'm 53 years old. I meet so many people that are my age that never took any steps towards having any financial freedom in their life, that they're scared to death. They're scared to death that they didn't put $200 away for the last 25 years. They're looking for solutions, and they might be doing great. They might have just got the raise, or they might have just got a promotion at work. Every one of the people that are my age know that I don't have 25 years to get my retirement set up. I better do something. I better find another way to generate income because I'm getting older and I'm getting tired and I don't have the same level of strength and the same level of resiliency, and I don't heal as fast as I did when I was 25. They're looking for this. They are. They're just looking for this. And so because I know this, that's how I have every conversation. I will tell you right now, if somebody doesn't have enough money, they're not going to buy a subscription. I don't care how much longer you think you can help them live. They don't have the money. The only solution to getting a sick person on a subscription is if they have enough money to buy it. So show them how to make it. Show them how to make $200, $500, $1,000, so they can get the products that they need to get healthy. I'm just telling you, people have a certain amount of disposable income. And if you can't add to that, they have to give something else up to buy this. So either have a solution for that, which is to generate income, right? Or you're going to struggle. Does that help? Can I leave you guys with that rant?
Fantastic stuff, Tyler. I couldn't be better. You comment about us standing in the back of a Coliseum. I can remember 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more, you and I standing in the back of the Coliseum in Long Beach. And I said to you, or do you look forward to the day you don't have to come to these events anymore? And you turned right around to me as quickly as could be and said, listen, I'll never miss one of these events. These are like family reunions and I will make them till the day I die. But then you said, but I do look forward to the day, Greg, that you and I can stay back here, lean against this wall, and no one knows who we are. They just walk right by us because wave after wave after wave of new leadership has come across that stage, and they don't need to have us up there anymore. And I've never forgotten that conversation because I still look forward to that to this day. So thank you very much for everything tonight. I'm asking everybody to, if you'd like to, please unmute and thank Tyler for helping us out tonight. This was just fantastic.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tyler.
So good.
Tyler, that was
You're the
great.
man.
Thank you.
I
God bless.
appreciate it.
Tyler.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Tyler.
We're gonna
Thank
do
you,
this.
Tyler.
Thanks, you guys.
See you down the road, brother.
Thank
Thank
you
you
from
for everything.
Texas.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Greg.
Thanks, you
Thank
guys. See ya.
you.
Take care, guys.
We
Bye
appreciate
now.
Everybody have a
you.
great week.
So much.
You made it so easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thanks, Greg.